Hello and welcome to etbfsi.com. At etbfsi.com, as you know, if you're an avid reader or a viewer of etbfsi.com, we keep curating content in different formats, not just articles, but videos, special sessions like this, the events, and so many other things. Today, we decided to do a special show specifically on insurance because today is a National Insurance Awareness Day, and also many changes or developments have happened in the insurance sector. So we thought it's an ideal time to understand what's insurance today, what's the status of insurance today, specifically in 2024, and how it looks like, going ahead. So the title of the show is Insurance 2024 and Beyond. Friends, we have lined up, a very important speakers from the industry who are leading their domains, and allow me to introduce them to you. My first speaker for this particular panel discussion is Mr. Nilesh Sathe, who's a veteran in the insurance space. He is a former member of IRDI. He was heading life insurance as a segment or a sector for IRDI as a member there. Nilesh sir, glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
My next speaker is Mr. Animesh Das. He's a MD and CEO of Eco General Insurance. I'm sure all of you know that that's a leading and the new insurtech company in India. Animesh, glad to have you.
Thank you, Amol. Thanks, everyone.
My next speaker is coming from Singapore. He's heading the InsurTech Association of InsurTech Asia Association. We thought we should get some perspective of Asia or global in general. So we have, George Kesselman, who's the president and founder of InsurTech Asia Association. George, glad to have you.
Thank you very much for having me on our show. I'm glad to be here.
Sure. My next speaker is Mr. Amit Agrawal, the CEO of Howden Insurance Brokers India. Amit, glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amol. Pleasure.
And to get a perspective specifically on the life insurance, we also have Mr. Pankaj Gupta, the Managing Director and CEO of Pramerica Life Insurance. Pankaj, glad to have you. I think Pankaj is just joining us. We have checked the link with him already. He will be there. But friends, let me begin. There are three, I think maybe 2 to 3 important points that I have to begin with. And that's also one of the reasons why we are here and trying to discuss this particular sector. In the last 1 or 2 years specifically, the regulator has been very active. It has come up with at least dozens of guidelines, notifications, regulations, or the master directions. That is one point that I have seen. So major developments in the industry. Second is specifically, I think after maybe 2022 years of privatization, many companies coming into the picture, and with the proliferation of technology, people have started understanding insurance. The youngsters, the Gen Zs, at least they are looking at insurance because most of the insurtech companies and the traditional companies are also going very, very aggressive, specifically on the insurance side. I'm not saying the penetration is going really high, but what I'm saying is there is some kind of awareness that I'm seeing specifically after the COVID. That is another change. And third important aspect, which I partly mentioned in the second aspect as well, is the technology. I think no company is, keeping away from the technology. In fact, there are companies dedicatedly operating only on the technology. The new brokers are operating only on the technology. So, keeping all these 3 points, where is the insurance sector today and where it is going to go? What has happened, but what lot needs to happen, we will discuss. So I will ask a common question to all of you, first, gentlemen, and my common question to all of you is: how do you see the awareness today in the insurance sector? Nilesh sir, I will start with you. Do you think the people in India are aware about insurance now?
Uh, I will not say yes, because most of the people do not consider insurance as a risk mitigating instrument even now. The sector has opened for private sector for the last 24 years. They are operating. IRDA and all insurance companies are also promoting the importance of insurance awareness. Actually, the very purpose of celebrating such National Insurance Awareness Day is to make people aware of the several benefits of insurance. Moreover, insurance is the most common way to transfer risk and protect lives and assets. Again, the purpose is to take stock of and review all your insurance covers and keep the nominees informed of the insurance policies that you have, and understanding the product features before buying insurance. This is very important because even today, we find that those who buy insurance, they do not spend much time with the insurance advisors, and as a result of which they end up buying something which they don't need. And renew the policies well on time, because if the policies are not renewed, then you are without insurance cover. The purpose for which you have bought insurance is lost. IRD also has been taking a lot of steps in increasing the awareness, and you have seen in the last couple of months, a lot of master circulars have been issued, especially on health. There has been a sea change in the approach and outlook of the regulator as well as insurance companies, and the surrender value increase. That is also one very important and drastic measure that IRDA has taken. So it is good. Awareness will increase, but it is still at a very low level, I will say.
Sure, Nilesh sir. We'll come back to you with specific questions, but let me move ahead. Animesh, what do you think? Are people
No, I
aware
think
about?
yeah, sorry.
Yes, Animesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just saying, now Nilesh sir touched upon on these critical points, and these are very specific nuances, the way the consumers see insurance product, right? That has to develop. I'll rather take another angle altogether. I'm sure we'll discuss about a lot of other points, but I think from an insurance sector point of view, also, I think we need to land, or we need to rather deliver excitement about the sector as well, right? So that's one more angle which we need to bring in. If you see last maybe a decade or so, there've been banking products, there've been telecom products, there've been so many other products like which were never exciting. They were very transactional in nature, at least from an Indian context point of view. And they have got excited. Now, I think there's so many things around the way you make payment, the kind of benefits you get out of it. There's so many value-added services which are linked to those transactions, right? That's one part of it, which is more around product offering altogether, or the way you buy insurance, the way you get service out of insurance product, right? The second refreshness which is needed around is around the positioning of the product itself, right? So if you're buying, let's say, any of the insurance product, be it car or health or so, right? It comes out to be very transitional, right? Or transactional rather. That if you're buying X, you are getting Y, right? There's no excitement around the product. So I think more, and this touches upon with the awareness, right? Like you somewhere we have to bridge that gap of products being very one-sided, very technical in nature, to how do customers actually see the value out of it. I think the insurance sector, while it's work in progress, there's a lot of new things which are happening. Like Nilesh sir said, the regulator has also opened up a lot of products, make it more open for exciting offerings to be like out there for the insurance company. But I think there's still a bridge to gap in terms of how do you position the whole sector in a very exciting way to the consumer. I think that's one piece which needs pretty much decent focus across by all the stakeholders out there.
Sure. Noted, Animesh. Amit, what do you think? Have you got some different feedback because you are directly into the market, maybe selling dozens of products of dozens of insurance companies to hundreds of clients? So, do you see it smooth journey for you? People know the insurance and they immediately buy it, or you have to struggle hard to pitch?
So, if you really ask me, I would like to bifurcate the whole world of insurance into two. One could be the corporate side of it, mid, small, large, mega, whatever you want to say. And the second is the retail realm, right? On the corporate side, at least when we go and talk to a client, most of the time they would be aware of three base products, right? One is employee benefits, wherein your health and life and accident comes into play. They would also know that if they have factory or plant or machinery or an office, they have assets, so they need to cover that.
Right.
And the third one is the liability, wherein I'm talking about the directors and officers and cyber and professional indemnity. Sort of. And then of course, there is marine, and then there is a lot of other pieces of business as well. Uh, there are two things. One is being aware of insurance, and secondly, understanding the value that it brings on the table. Right.
Right.
I think there are veterans sitting here who have a lot more knowledge about retail players as compared to what we have, because we touch retail players predominantly on a B2B2E model, wherein we have a client working with us and we sort of develop products which can be delivered via technology again through our app to those clients, which are to the employees of those clients. So we are not directly into the retail space. But if I talk about the corporate, everybody knows that there's a huge protection gap in the Indian market. I mean, various figures says anywhere between 90 to 94%. And, and that really says that people are aware, but they don't value. Okay, that's what we face every day. And I think one thing that a lot of people talk about is that we pay insurance, but we don't get claim. Right now, that is where the product innovation and that everybody on this panel and a lot more, all the participants have to really work hard around that. Animesh made a fantastic point about making it exciting, right, and trustworthy. A lot of times people would just say, okay, I've paid a premium, what a policy. Whenever the claim comes, I should just get the claim, right?
Yes.
But a lot of nuances get thrown in when there is a claim, the process of settlement of claim, the discounts in the claim, and all of the kind of things. So coming back to your point, whether the awareness is there, 100%, people are really aware what they should be buying, but there is still a large journey to be taken before we can call ourselves properly insured nation. I would say.
Sure. Noted your points, Amit, and thanks for adding that. I think the claim part, obviously, we'll discuss very, very soon. But let me go to Pankaj now. Pankaj, I think the confusion is always with the life insurance more than the general insurance, because people still partly understand, okay, health है तो मतलब hospital है, motor है तो गाड़ी है, but life में नहीं समझ पाते, term, endowment, then the traditional, then the child products which comes together. Have you seen any difference? Is people, are people aware, or they're still, you have to make a lot of efforts to tell them?
Amol, I think you hit the nail on the head. It is exactly the way you articulated. People are aware that there is something called life insurance. But why do I need life insurance? What is the purpose for which I should buy this? Is the insurance that I have, is it adequate? Am I able to take the right decision whether to continue with my policy and whether to be persistent or not? What are the benefits, features? I would say that there is a lot of scope for moving forward in each of these areas. My belief is that fundamentally, if people are going to be buying life insurance based upon their need, they are aware of why they have bought the product, what are the features and the benefits. They are also aware of their rights when they have bought the product. Then we will have real awareness. Now, awareness to the extent of saying that, yes, there is something like life insurance. Yes, I have some policy, but I do not know what policy I have. I do not know what is my cover. I do not know what is covered, what is not covered. Then it is not real awareness. And I would say we have a long way to go in that direction. Now, as Mr. Sathi also highlighted, the purpose of days like today, when we are celebrating Insurance Awareness Day, is to deepen the knowledge of the entire ecosystem about these matters. Our regulator is also extremely forward-looking now. They are looking to extend insurance to everybody in the country by the year 2047. And greater degree of awareness about all of these aspects will be a part of that process. So yes, we are in that journey, but have we reached there yet? Not as of now.
Sure. George, I am really excited to listen to your views now, because a lot of people in India, great population, but the penetration is still very less, and we are trying to make an awareness. How is it in Asia specifically, barring India, Singapore, and other countries? Are people aware? They just simply go buy insurance like the way we buy bread, or there also people make lots of efforts? How's it?
Yeah, well, I think it's an excellent question, and I think this is, I guess, Asia is so big overall that we have markets like Singapore, Japan, South Korea, where people have each family, each individual have multiple insurance policies, and it is probably not as simple as buying bread, but it is something that they, over the years, I think there's built a lot of trust and understanding of the insurance. There's a lot of interaction with the agents over the years, and generally it's a lot more comprehensive coverages. Of course, there are still gaps, but it is, I think, a much better coverage. And then there's other extreme where there's a lot more countries like Indonesia and other markets that are emerging and kind of growing in terms of their penetration of insurance, and that's, I think there is a very similar kind of journey. So I think there is that journey and transition. So as people get more assets, as people get wealthier, there's more naturally things for them to protect. And I think once they start to interact with insurance, that comfort level grows. I think it's really about finding that first entry point a lot of times. And that's a very similar conversation I've had with many insurers in Indonesia as well. They said, why are we stuck with low penetration? Why is it not growing as excited as they are about it? But it is, I think, a kind of a natural path, a natural evolution there. And I think what you said about the technology coming in, I think in regulation, it's all accelerating it, but I think it's kind of a natural process that it needs to almost go through to evolve at that stage.
Yeah, very meaningful thought, George. I think natural process. I think that should happen here as well. So, gentlemen, let me come back to you now with specific questions, and Nilesh sir, I will start with you. Just two anecdotes, sir. First is, when I started reporting on insurance in 2007 and 8, this example I give all the time. I made a dictionary of words: reputation, free look period, sum insured, because I didn't know what does it mean, and every time I used to get confused. So simplicity is still a problem. Jargon is still a problem, right? And people don't understand it. What do you think should be done by the insurance companies now? Because regulator has been pushing it for simplicity also now. You know, to speed up and accelerate. To reach out to more people, create more awareness. What are your learnings and thoughts here, sir?
Yeah, I agree. There are a lot of jargons in insurance, and that cannot be ruled out because it is a technical subject. But more than that, what is important is IRDA has now asked all insurance companies to give a one-page clarification along with the policy as to what are the salient features of this in brief.
Yes.
So whether if it is an endowment policy, how much for how many years you have to pay, what is the premium, what is the sum assured, what amount you will get in case of death, in case of maturity, whether you will get bonus, and if so, bonus is not guaranteed. This is to be specified. So on the one pager is a must going forward. So that is a good, I will not say suggestion, but the direction from IRDA. That will help the customers also to understand and realize in brief what is it I'm going to get and what is it that is not covered, especially in case of health. So this is a good step. Second is a lot of use of telematics and health wearable devices. They are now coming up. And in case of motor insurance also, there is something called as pay as you drive or pay the way you drive. So these are some of the innovations which will bring excitement to the customer, that I don't have to pay the same premium if I'm a very versatile, competent driver who has not had any accident in the past. Why should I pay the same premium, which is for a person or a young man of 25 years of age who had just started driving? And that will create an excitement if my premium is low. And that is precisely what is happening. But then, by and large, if you think that insurance should be exciting, the benefit of insurance is honestly only on death, as far as life insurance is concerned.
Right.
And that is definitely not a happy moment for anybody. But at the same time, in case of maturity, when you look at the maturity value, then you work out IRR, and then again you think of, oh my God, I have got only 5-6% of IRR. I should have got something more than this. So again, this is not a happy moment.
Right.
So honestly, or when you meet with an accident again is not a happy moment. Then the insurance company will be approached and it will pay you. But again, there will be some deductions and you will be unhappy with that. Why this amount is not given, like plastics are not given. So I don't think that insurance at any point of time is going to give a very happy moment or exciting moment for the customer.
Right.
But then is it essential? Answer is yes, it is absolutely essential. And as a risk mitigating instrument, one must look at it. One point I just wanted to make is government many times is doling out certain amounts in case of accident or otherwise. That should stop, because when you have got a travel insurance, when you travel by rail, you have just to pay 33 paisa for your travel. But that also you are not paying. And then when accident happens, the government will declare 10 lakhs of rupees, 20 lakhs of, that should not happen. So government also has a role to play, and most importantly, to popularize insurance, it should be cheap, it should not be costly. And the 18% GST in India on insurance, as well as health insurance, life and health both, is absolutely atrocious. So that is something which government must look into. There is no point in having only big talk on penetration and this and that, unless you improvise something on the ground. Like the PMJJBY is an excellent scheme, but nobody is pushing it. Banks should push it, but banks are not pushing it. So government should intervene and say that you must push it. Every customer who is eligible to buy PMJJBY and PMSBY, banks must be asked to ensure that they are covered. So these are a couple of things which I thought I should put before you.
No, absolutely, sir, and very, very realistic point. I think post GST, suddenly the insurance companies and policyholders, got an additional weightage in terms of the premium. Earlier, the service tax was quite low. After GST, it got added a lot. Very, very realistic points. Thanks for adding that. So, Animesh, let me come to you. When it comes to the simplicity, do you think that the insurance tech companies like you are making a difference? Because half the time the people were saying that we don't understand these terminologies and it's not easy buying. So, are you making it exciting? Are you giving that experience which the people were looking for? And is it our insurtech making a difference when it comes to the awareness and also reaching out to people and selling more policies?
Yeah, Mul, I think not just we are making it, I think it's a need of the time as well, like we have been discussing, right? So, again, from a consumer point of view, their experience is changing a lot, it's evolving a lot, right? And while we are in insurance space, there are parallel world going on in the e-com world, grocery delivery, to every other sector, right? Which is covering a lot of these parts, right, very quickly. Right? So imagine 5 years back, you were going down and buying grocery from shop on the ground versus you're getting your groceries delivered at home within 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, right? So I think there's not just a need, there is more like a challenge to kind of actually go there, right? Because the customer experience is getting to the next level very, very fast. So I think the insurance sector has to catch up to that, has to be done. And like across, while we are doing our stuff for sure, I think there's a digital transformation across in every company. They are moving their processes, which are, if I can say, slightly traditional or slightly broken, but moving it towards better experience for the user anyways. We are doing our part of the job anyway. I think a couple of things I'll just say. One of the use case which we were trying to solve, there are, from a consumer experience point of view, claim is a big use case, right? And we are in GI space, and the products around here is, let's say, if you meet an auto accident, right, and you get a claim out of it, right, which is a very prominent, very frequent use case in India, right? There's so many cars, and auto obviously has a higher frequency or higher incidence rate in general. Like we settled one of the claims which was within 7 minutes. So we know there's one specific use case, and it was very like our engine was able to figure out whether everything is right, and we were able to settle the claim within 7 minutes, which is even faster than, let's say, a 10-minute delivery or a 20-minute some other services which are being quoted, right? So I think the industry is picking up on these things, matching up to what's out there, and we need to, like you mentioned, right? We need to simplify the offering, make people understand the kind of benefit they are going to get out of what they're signing up with, right? So that is, I'm sure everyone is pretty much focused. We obviously need to get faster on those things as an industry. The regulator is helping all of us a lot, right? So many things like employment has. Just we need to grab into those opportunity and deliver the best out. Because the experience of the user, again, I'm just repeating the same point. The experience of the user or the customer is not benchmarked just within the insurance space or not just within the fintech space. It's way wider now. The customer experience benchmarks are what, let's say, any of these e-com setups deliver, right? Where you can track literally on your app, you can track where is your delivery, where is your order, which day will it you reach, right? And the accuracy of that delivery date and time is top notch. Somewhere you have to get to that. I think it's our duty to kind of bring that effectiveness or that accuracy in the insurance space as well. And I think most companies are working on that direction.
Sure, Animesh. I think I also started receiving questions from the audience. Those who have any specific questions, please feel free to share. I will start taking your questions also. Just be very, very specific. And if you have any specific questions to any specific speaker, do let me know. I think the two, three questions that I have are slightly general one, but I will still try to take them. Let me move ahead and bring Pankaj here. Pankaj, I mean, it's been quite some time since more than 2 decades now the private companies came into the picture, and the idea was that they will make a difference. It's not that they did not make a difference at all, but when we say that people don't understand, what do you think, what goes wrong? Is it that we are still sticking to the same old terminologies and going ahead with the same the premiums are still, I think, in life insurance were still very high then. Obviously after PMJJY people realized that micro products are also needed. What is your observation? What is going wrong currently when it comes to the low penetration? Is it that the people absolutely don't want it, or they think that okay, they have different alternatives?
Amol, I think the point you raised about excessive jargon and the need for simplicity is a very important point. And the way I see it is that unless in a simple language you are able to communicate to the customer about the product that they have bought and the benefits they will be getting from the product, unless they can understand it fully, they will not have the impression of transparency in terms of what they bought and what they are going to get. Now, when you have a feeling that something is not transparent, your trust in that automatically goes down. So once you have simplified your communication, once you have communicated the product features and benefits to the customers in a simple manner, the transparency will make for trust, and trust will make for a greater degree of acceptance of the product that the customer has to buy. Now, Mr. Sathe correctly pointed out that it is a technical product, so there is an element of jargon that is inherent in the product. And he also highlighted about the initiative that the regulator has taken recently in terms of suggesting to the insurers about a platform through which the words can be simplified. Whatever you are trying to communicate, the same message can be simplified. And the one-page document also is going to be a step in the same direction. I'm reminded of something that happened about 20 years ago in the credit card industry. And at that point of time, credit cards were also not very well understood. Even today, probably there is an opportunity, but that time it was much more so. And there was a document called the Most Information Document that was created for credit cards that in a single, simple manner, in a single page, highlighted the key features of the product that had been bought. And now I would say there is a greater degree of understanding of credit card than it used to be 20 years ago. So we are in that journey, we are in that process. And as the maturity curve of this industry and the product keep going up, we will get there. But today, as we speak, if we are able to de-jargonize the product and make it simple, the penetration and acceptance of the product, the trust in the industry, the transparency, the image of transparency, all of that has a scope of going higher. And the happy situation for us is that this is now accepted as an action area and there is a structured process underway to work on this.
Sure. George, what is your observation in Asia? What kind of difference that the new age insurance companies are making when it comes to the awareness, when it comes to the reaching the market? Because in countries like Japan, the insurance market is quite matured, right? There are very less new customers, but far more existing customers, and most of the insurance companies are spending a lot of time in serving the customers than selling the customers. So how do you think the market there now in Asia, and what lessons do you think that the insurance companies in India can address?
Yeah, I think what I see is that there is basically kind of 3 segments of products roughly. So there's on one end of the complexity, extra complex products like commercial that Amit have mentioned. It's all kind of insurance buildings, liabilities, all this kind of like a very, very complex things. And that one I think is, it takes some time to get awareness, but it's basically going to largely, it seems like it's staying the way it is. Then there's like a middle segment, which is, I think what we see right now is life products, health, and some of the bigger commercial products. And I think there's, again, kind of there's a journey to awareness, but I think where we see the biggest innovation happening is really in this, call it the micro space, or we call it embedded insurance, which is really micronizing the products, putting them in the very logical places within the digital journeys. And there's some really interesting examples that, overcome a little bit of that friction for awareness of understanding the products. For example, in Southeast Asia, in the kind of countries around Singapore, we have this ride-sharing company, kind of like Ola of Southeast Asia, called Grab. And what they did is they've embedded this product, which is very simple product, which is a delay in arrival of the car and any accidents during the journey for the customers. And then the response have been really, really positive from the customers, because in some ways they don't even think about it as an insurance. And when the delay happens, the claim gets paid instantaneously into their wallet. So all this kind of like frictions that are currently there, maybe in the kind of the bucket one or bucket or the first one, is basically overcome. And I think there is this kind of evolution that is happening. So from middle consumer products, there is this kind of emergence of new type of products, and it's a little bit different from how the microinsurance used to be, because in the past we tried to sell microinsurance using agents, using people to explain it, which drives up the cost and creates the issues in terms of the reach and all the things that comes with it. But with the digital and what we've seen in the region and in kind of Asia context, this embedded space is really where there's been a lot of innovation, and there's billions of policies that are being sold or embedded every year now across different countries, across different digital journeys, such as travel, mobility, and e-commerce are kind of the big segments of where things are progressing. And from there, I think what we see is that there is a natural journey when people experience their first claim being paid out very frictionlessly. First time that they see that it's very easy to buy, they don't need to go through a headache of answering 25 different questions, going to see a doctor. I think that overcomes some of that initial resistance, and from there, then it's much easier to progress to the other more complex products.
Sure. I always give this example when it comes to global companies is of the insurtech company from UK called Lemonade. Obviously, I haven't bought any insurance from them. I'm living in India, but again, it's a very small company compared to Indian market. But their UI and UX was so impressive that they said we sell policies in 30 seconds and we settle claims in 3 minutes. That's very, very attractive when you spoke about specificity and how you sell it. Amit, let me bring you to the picture. And we spoke about no claims and so many other things earlier. What I also want to ask you is, when a new company is coming into the market, the first thing they're trying to do is that to increase their top line, they're trying to eat the market share of the other company rather than expanding the market share, right? So how do you as a broker see the whole competition shaping up, which is not expanding the market aggressively because the number of companies are still growing? In fact, the market is not expanding, but we are getting into the same pie. What is your view on that?
Very good question, Amal, on this one. See, we would love to see more companies, okay? Because brokers are the representative of the clients. Clients love choices, and it gives us more, what should I say, choices to be presented to the client, right? Now, when it comes to new companies coming in, if you really see, most of the times, most of the action is happening in the retail space again. Okay, all the new age companies. I mean, Animesh can add to it. The real value proposition of ACO is around giving that buying pleasure, that settlement of claim to a retail consumer, right? Corporate even more drab as compared to the retail excitement that we're trying to create. The corporate insurance is even more sort of a little boring. But where we come into picture in the way we look at these new insurance companies is that first of all we try to understand that exactly where do they want to deploy their capacities, right? So let me take an example, and again I will bring you back to the three topics that we were talking about. That is the health, group health, okay, the large complex property programs, let's say, and let's say cyber, which is the most, let's say, talked about subject nowadays when it comes to commercial insurances on the liability side. Now, health in India, most of the customers, corporates are not buying it because they really want to insure. The reason why they're buying it is because they want access to the infrastructure of the insurance companies. They want that when there is a claim for their employee, they do not have to really struggle, right? The hospital network has to be good, the TPA has to be good. It's more of a, today if we see, if there is a 100 rupee claim, the premium is 110 bucks, right? So
Right.
it's not really the insurance, the sale of infrastructure, right? Now, let me take you to cyber. A lot of people would say that cyber is a new age insurance, everybody has to buy it, and we highly recommend that everybody should look at it, because we believe there are only two kinds of companies. One who are already hit by a cyber attack, and one that will be, right? So cyber insurance is a must. For all you know, you don't even know that you are being hit by a cyber attack. So cyber, as an insurer, you're of course lending your book, and it's the contingent capital that the customer or the corporate gets. But what comes along with it is the infrastructure, right? 1-800 number, forensic negotiators for you, the big fours and their consulting services that comes along, right? All of those kind of things. And that's the infrastructure that most of the clients are buying. And then comes the property, right? Let's talk about a large complex refinery or a large factory. Again, I mean, if you're talking about 50,000 crore rupees worth of assets which are going to be insured, right? The insurance company has to be really stable with a large book. Okay? Now, these are the three aspects that we're looking at. And when we are talking to the clients, we are always trying to present the new age insurance company at the right space, which the job of matchmaking is done properly, right? So I'm not going to place a new insurance company with a smaller book at the bottom of where they are going to hit by the first dollar of claim on cyber. I would probably place them at the, let's say, top of the pyramid and say, okay, take experience of that client. And once you are maybe in a year or 2 or 3, once you're more experienced about it, you can keep increasing your capacities on the same client or the exposure on the same client. Same goes to the property, right?
Okay.
I mean, 50,000 crore of assets. I mean, a cloud burst and you're looking at a claim worth 1,500 crore. It can wipe off the insurance company's balance sheet, right? So that is where we also go back to the insurance companies and say that, this is the kind of thing which is on the table, but do you really want to take it? Right? And a lot of that insurance companies say, okay, I can take probably 50%, but let me start with 5. And that's a wise decision to do. So when we look at these insurance companies, we are always looking at bringing them in, because see, their sustainability is also a sort of responsibility for the brokers, right?
Okay.
If insurance companies don't survive, how will we generate options for the client? So we are always looking at that long-term horizon for these insurance companies. And we also come to them and say that, okay, this particular aspect of this risk is really risky. You should be staying away from this in the year 1. So that's how we look at the new insurance companies coming to the market.
Certainly. Let me take a couple of questions, and Nilesh sir, I want you to take this question. So what strategies are most effective in addressing the penetration gap and insurance density compared to the global average? I mean, we had partly discussed this, but this is a specific question that the viewer has asked. Do you want to go ahead?
See, Amol, a couple of things. One is these are not the only two parameters to look at whether the size of the cake is expanding. These are 2 out of many which should be looked into. I'll give you an example. What is the per capita income of the people in the country? Now, if it is too low, obviously till such time that the basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter
Hmm.
are satisfied, why somebody will pay money to buy insurance?
Exactly.
For him, the most important is livelihood. So, if 40% or 25% of the population is living below poverty line, should it not be excluded while working on density or figures of penetration? This is one. Second is the economy growing? If the answer is yes, as in case of India, there is likelihood that our economy is likely to grow at 6-7% on a long-term basis.
Hmm.
When economy expands, the per capita income also goes up, and a lot of people will come out from poverty, out of poverty.
Hmm.
And when they come out of poverty, the first need is insurance.
Right.
After the first basic three needs are satisfied, the person will have the next need of insurance.
Hmm.
So as soon as he comes out of poverty line, the insurance penetration is bound to go up.
Yes.
So there is nothing to worry about it. Now, I read somewhere that India has surpassed UK in penetration, which is a misnomer, because in UK nobody buys savings-linked products. They buy only term insurance. Term insurance will be very low.
Yes.
So merely on the basis of the volume, if you say we have overtaken UK, that is absolutely wrong.
Right.
Actually, what should be looked into is what is the total amount of premium collected out of the people who are insurable. This is one, and who are able to pay premium. And from that point of view, this PMJJBY and PMSBY are really novel schemes which must be pushed. And again, on health also, the government Ayushman Bharat. So we are moving in the right direction, but it will take some time for us to come up to that level. Everybody knows that India is a good destination, even from investment point of view. So per capita income will increase. Obviously, the penetration and whatever parameters we have, there will be a better increase in that.
Yeah. For sure. I think thanks for adding that. It gave a future perspective also, which was actually the beyond theme I wanted to ask. But let me move to Pankaj now. Pankaj, what is beyond 2024 that you see? Because and I will pick these questions to everyone according to their background. But the generation is also changing. We are living in a TTYL generation, right? So we cannot offer them everything without a great UI and UX. So how do you see the insurance beyond 2024 now, Pankaj?
Amol, I would say that the insurance industry in some ways is at a crossroads. We have come a long way. The private life insurance industry in India is just about now 24, 25 years. And if you were to look at LIC, that came about in 1956. So in a structured way, if you were to look at insurance and you take the starting dates of LIC, that is 1956, the private insurance industry started in 2000. So relatively, we are a younger industry. And this industry came about at a time of very rapid economic growth also in the country. We have been growing pretty rapidly. Mr. Sathe pointed out about 6 to 7% and probably higher we can grow on a long-term sustainable basis. Now, I was looking at certain data pieces that came about in the recent issue of Economist. In one of the scenarios, if India's growth were to sustain over a long period of time, by the year 2075, we could potentially be the largest economy in the world. We do have a demographic dividend that is available to us that is not available to countries like China, who are a much bigger economy today.
Yeah.
So when we look at the very long term, and insurance is a long-term product, insurance industry, if you were to look at globally, is a couple of centuries old. We are just a couple of decades old. So we are at a very nascent stage if you were to look at in the overall context. We are at a pivotal point in our economic history. In the future, the way it is evolving in terms of many, many different features. I think one of the things that got talked about was about India's tech and digitization. Right. Another thing that got talked about is our long-term economic trajectory. The third thing is about our demographic dividend. The fourth thing is about a very progressive regulator. The fifth thing is about the government enabling and facilitating a lot of the things that we have to do. A couple of things probably, as Mr. Satis talked about GST, etc. I would say they would also probably get a look in at some point of time. But the way all of these factors are coming together even if you were to look at our insurance industry in the context of the global insurance industry, we are year by year improving our ranking in the global league charts. So this industry has come a long way. It is a relatively nascent industry. A lot of the factors have come together as a positive confluence at the same point of time. And in the next couple of decades, not just the next couple of years, in the next couple of decades, this industry in India is going to be very, very meaningful. And the type of things that we will keep doing as an industry, making our products better, making our services better, making sure the industry is more stable, sustainable. We are addressing the key risks that are there, whether they are ALM risks or InfoSec risks or cyber, etc., that got talked about. We will be a much more mature as well as large industry in the future.
Sure. Very energetic, Pankaj. Let's see. I hope to see the same energy translating into insurance industry going ahead. Slightly, we are running with a short of time, but we'll still take quickly ahead. Go ahead with maybe few minutes, 5 minutes. So just be very crisp. Aminesh, what's next? How do you see InsurTech 2024 के बाद beyond में क्या देखते हो? Do you see that the product premium will come down? Do you see that the people will jump specifically buying insurance on mobile app itself? What is your analysis?
No, I think this is just a start, right? We are like maybe Pankaj said, it's a very early stage for the sector altogether, and InsurTech is like still a very early stage, nascent stage in terms of how it's developing. The whole digital transformation leads to a couple of very basic things. One is things being built at a granular level, which transforms into something very, very meaningful for the consumer. So I think two things which will work out very well. One is great consumer experience. There'll be a competition anyways, and everyone has to deliver great customer experience. But on top of it, I think there'll be more enablement, more technology to kind of support awesome customer experience, right? So that's one thing which is going to get better and better. And the second piece is, I think, better financial inclusion altogether, right? So efficient process, efficient way to reach out to the users. Customers are getting more digital platforms to reach out to the insurance products, right? So that will include more, that will make the product inclusion deeper and wider, right? So you'll see a lot of these rural areas where insurance, you can only buy insurance when there's a branch which is opened up, will change a lot, right? Customer can actually buy products remotely as well, and we see that in multiple other industries as well, right? So these two directions where insurance getting deeper and wider is going to happen, and the customer experience getting way better what we experience today in the insurance world.
Sure. George, when insurance industry started and opened for privatization, a lot of foreign companies entered in India and they had their FDI. And still, in fact, half the companies are operating with the foreign partners. Do you see more companies from Asia will jump onto India because it's just an investment market as well when it comes to the InsurTech space in future? Do you see that?
I think there's a lot of interest in the India market. I think everybody is kind of sees that as one of the really golden opportunities of next 15, 20 years, because the market is becoming a lot more innovative. There's a lot of obviously progressive movements from the regulator. So I think all those kind of things are pointing towards India being really one of those places where a lot of magical things happen. So there is a lot of interest from the investors that I talk to, a lot of interest from the insurance companies. I think from the insurtechs, they're a little bit worried because all the entrepreneurs in India, I think, are seen as very already having in-depth understanding of the market. So potentially, I think what will happen is probably where they partner or they create JVs or they work together with other global companies to kind of further it together.
Sure. And lastly, Amit, how do you see the whole broker segment shaping up after 2024? Because we have seen number of brokers increase, specifically the number of brokers. Few of them are operating specifically in a digital format itself. So what next, specifically for the brokers industry as well? And how do you see the collaborations between the insurance companies and the brokers will, shape up going ahead?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So from brokers' point of view, there are about life in general put together 60 to 65 companies that we're talking about. And from the broker's perspective, we're talking about more than 650. Yeah. So But what we've seen in the past 5 years, and what I also see as a trend, there would be specialized brokers which will start emerging slowly. Okay, brokers which are focusing on a geography or a segment of the market or a specific product type, right? There would also be brokers who are going to be specifically focusing on the retail segment, on the corporate segment, all of those kind of things. One thing is for sure that there's going to be a huge amount of consolidation that is going to be happening in the industry. Even today, if you see out of 650 brokers, probably top 20 or 25 brokers would have more than 85% of the premium share that is brokered in the market. And I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about retail, corporate, everything put together, right? And this is going to grow even more in the times to come. Very simply put, the larger clients' requirements are becoming even more complex. They need international solutions. They need international reach for their products. And that is the reason why they are sort of moving towards the international brokers. One thing which I've seen in the Indian market, which is happening in the last 5 years or so, is the migration of talent. And probably everybody on the screen would agree for it, that the growth of any industry depends totally upon whether a youngster of a country aspires to be in that industry or not. And 20 years back, I don't think anybody aspired to be in the world of insurance, life or general, whatever you talk about. But today, if you really see, there are a lot of colleges, programs, even parents are pushing their next generation to be in the insurance world. And it pays well. It has a lot of excitement around it. So that is one thing that we believe is going to drive what we see in the future to come. In fact, while I was preparing for this, I just did some numbers. If I just look at the 100 years of our independence, 2047, okay, it's about 23 more years to go. India would be anywhere between 27 to 30 trillion dollars pre-inflation. If I just talk about a growth of 9% for the next 23 years. And if I just take the global average for insurance penetration is 6.8, even if you take 5.5 or 6, we're talking about an industry size of 1.8 to $2 trillion. Today we are at 135, 140 billion. Right? We're talking about an industry which will grow 12 to 15 times in the next 23 years. And in the financial institution space, this is proven to be the most resilient subsector, so to say. During the COVID time, I don't remember any insurance company shutting down because of COVID losses, right? So I'm quite excited about the overall industry prospects, the career for people, and brokers. I would say lifetime in the country in this industry.
Oh, sure, Amit. I think detailed one, and thanks for sharing the data as well. Quite meaningful point. And in a not just customer or a social aspect, but insurance companies are indirectly are intermediaries of market as well. For example, life insurance companies are also the biggest investors in capital market, right, and fueling the growth of the economy as well. So I think that's also one of the interesting subject. But meaningful thoughts. We not only understand the current state, but what your perspective specifically on 2024 and beyond. Thank you so much for taking out time and sharing your perspective. You are on the special show of etbfsi.com, and thank you so much, readers and viewers, for watching this particular show. Thank you, Amit, George, Animesh, Nilesh sir, and Pankaj for your inputs.
Thank you, Amol.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.